Hey, Dr. Mike here. Taurine is making headlines as the fountain of youth. Stick around to learn the facts.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, welcome to Live Foreverish. So, Dr. Crystal, taurine, and we'll get into what it is and everything, right? But it's making these huge headlines right now.
Oh, yes.
It's trending based on some new longevity research. And I just want to know, people, right off the bat, that there is some good science here, right?
I would say so.
Yeah, this isn't just, whatever, sensational marketing, whatever, right? The teaser had Fountain of Youth. Come on, I was just having some fun there. But I'm excited about what we're finding with it. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, here's the thing, Dr. Mike. We know taurine. At least I do as a nutritionist. But
of course.
But, our sponsor, Life Extension, has been talking about and writing about taurine for a very long time. I think the world is now understanding and appreciating all that taurine has to offer.
Yeah.
And then this new research, it's good research. It's still, I would say, preliminary because it's an animal model.
Sure.
But I read the results and felt like I needed to up my taurine. So we're happy to kind of shed a light to help you understand the research a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and read what the study kind of concluded. Let's just give them the stats right away, and then we'll kind of break it down. How's that? Does that sound okay?
Yes.
All right, so this is from the study. By measuring serum taurine levels in mice, monkeys, and humans, the investigators found an 85% reduction in the amino acid in 15-year-old monkeys in comparison with 5-year-olds, and an 80% decrease in older compared with younger humans. So what they're finding is that the older we get, we lose taurine, which is making people think taurine is important in younger brains, younger systems, and if we supplement with it, can we kind of get back to those biological younger years?
Yes, that was one part of the study. I think that was kind of one area that the researchers wanted to identify. One, is there a decline with age? And then part two, if we then supplement the animals with taurine, what happens?
Yeah. And you mentioned this is also, a lot of this was done in the animal models, right? There was some humans mixed, but in the animal models, people need to understand that's a great place to start with longevity. Well, we start with animal models for anything, but with longevity, we kind of have to really focus on them because it's hard to study longevity in humans. You would have to set up a very long study, spend a lot of money, right?
Right.
Trusting that these people in this long study are sticking with whatever routine you're following. So long, it's just the way it is in humans.
We know that mice, they have their lifespan's about 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's a great way for us to see, okay, what happens. And in this particular study, the latest research, they studied it in mice who were about middle age, as well as elderly mice. Mm-hmm. And then we'll go over some of the results.
Yeah, let's start
with those two groups.
As the expert nutritionist here, let's maybe just give a rundown of what taurine is.
Yes, it's an amino acid. Now, some would debate that, but we're not here to debate it. It's a sulfur-containing amino acid. So I've heard people say it's amino sulfuric acid, but either way, let's just say it's an amino acid, but it's different than other amino acids because it is not a building block for protein.
Exactly.
So it's not one of those, 20 or so amino acids that will be used to create protein, but it serves other functions in the body. And there are many other amino acids out there outside of the ones that we typically love to talk about. But its functions in the body are so important that the human body produces transporter proteins specifically targeted to this nutrient.
So right there, two things pop up for me. Mm-hmm. Anytime the body has special transporters for something, right, it's important. Or when the body has a bunch of receptors on all kinds of cell lines for something like vitamin D, right? Yeah. Pay attention to that nutrient. Mm-hmm. Number two, sulfur. Big time important for human health.
That's right. And so we find that taurine is made in the body in smaller amounts when you eat protein. Cysteine is an amino acid, or also methionine that that the body can use to make taurine. It's also found in seafood, like scallops, mussels, clams.
Love it all.
Dark meat, turkey, chicken. But here's the kicker, Dr. Mike. Not in plant foods. If you're a vegan, you're really not getting any taurine. Vegetarians, not really. You may find it in red seaweed. That's about it when you look at plants.
Yeah, but even on the even the seafood side, I mean, how often are people eating scallops and mussels and clams? I mean, I think that we should increase these things in our diet. Mm-hmm. They're full of great nutrition, but most people aren't doing that. And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, and again, we talk about this food first. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. But the question then becomes, if the premise of this study is true that we lose taurine as we age, which is a very important compound for many things, right? And we can get into that list. Dietary sources are just they're not gonna boost it up like we need.
Right.
Supplementation is key in this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are some of that? You mentioned briefly some of these things about what taurine does. How about liver health?
Yes.
Bile salt production. That's important for how we handle fats.
That's right.
Right. What other things do you like that stand out to you?
Well, what stands out to me, and we kind of talk about this taurine being in energy drinks.
Well, it is all over energy
drinks.
Drinks.
Right. It can act in many ways like a neurotransmitter, but why it's in energy drinks is because it helps to support heart health, energy, metabolism. There is a study show that taurine is needed for the optimal functioning of mitochondria.
Yeah.
The powerhouse
so it's true
of
energy.
The cells.
Yeah.
So it's important for athletic performance and exercise capacity. It supports muscle recovery. Unfortunately, those energy drinks, I'm just going to have to tell you, it's not giving you the amounts of taurine that we are really seeing to be beneficial in research.
It's a good idea. It's a good effort. Right, but because you mentioned the mitochondria, right? Mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells. We've done shows before, right? We talk about how we lose mitochondria as we age as well. So boosting that up is important. But you're really getting your energy from the caffeine, probably in those drinks. Let's be honest, right?
That's what it is, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so again, a lot of benefits here for this very important amino acid, sulfur-based amino acid. How about if I say it that way? Maybe that'll make other people happy. I don't
the hardcore scientists listening.
Yeah, right. And we work with a lot of them.
Yes.
We really do. I just real quickly, healthy gene expression is another thing. I mean, when you really look at this, energy, muscle, gene expression, liver support, anything that can help those kind of things, you really are kind of talking about longevity.
Right. Well, something else, when you think longevity, healthy metabolism of carbs and sugars. So supplementation might support healthy glucose metabolism and insulin secretion. And so that stands out as well as another check mark in the box for taurine.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the longevity part of this,
yes.
right? This is was published in the journal Science, June. This is right off the press, right. June 9th. The journal Science published this research. And I mean, the basic conclusion they had was that it appears, and they have to say it that way because this wasn't your randomized control. This is animal models, et cetera, like that. But they basically concluded it appears to have impressive life extending and health boosting properties in some mammals.
Right.
And we're mammals.
Absolutely.
Last time I checked.
That's right.
Right. So that includes us. Do you want to give us a little rundown of kind of how they set this up, or should we just get right to the results? It's up to you.
Right. Well, just understanding the scientists as they are heading into saying, okay, let's study this taurine. Obviously, they wanted to see does the taurine decline with age? Earlier studies have shown that the concentration of taurine in blood correlates with health, but it is unknown whether blood taurine concentrations affect aging. So, and this is directly from the researchers' paper. So they said to address this gap in knowledge, we measured the blood concentration of taurine during aging and investigated the effect of taurine supplementation on health span and lifespan in several species.
Yeah.
And we talk about health span. That's what living forever ish.
It's
all about.
If you really wanted another summary word of our podcast, it's health span.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's we want some extra years. Great. But those years need to be good and strong and healthy and all that kind of stuff.
That's right. And I thought really nice, commendable to these researchers, because sometimes with longevity research, they just want, you're living longer.
Yeah, years.
Years. I want more than years.
Good years is what we need.
But I want longer years of healthy living.
You could make the argument that the pharmaceutical companies have helped to increase lifespan, right? You got people that are on their cholesterol drugs, blood pressure drugs, but go into any generalist practice, internal medicine, and look at some of these people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. They can't get up from the chair.
Yes.
We want living forever-ish. We want health span with a few extra years. Now, again, animal model, right? Do we know how they fed the mice the taurine?
Yeah, so it was once a day, and we have the doses, and we don't like to do this often, but people want to know.
What do those mice doses mean to me, right?
Right. So this is not a practice that you should try to do all the time, but here it is. To emulate the study,
we're going to say it.
People weighing over 165 pounds might need doses around up to 6,000 milligrams per day based on higher body weight, a little bit lower doses, around 3,000 milligrams daily. So that's basically with the mice. They gave them a specific amount based on how much they weighed.
Okay.
And then when you compare that to humans, then you can kind of come up with about 3,000 to 6,000 milligrams per day.
They call that human equivalent dosing. And there's ways to calculate that.
And that was once per day.
Yeah. So 3 grams basically.
Yes, once per day. And I do want to clarify, they gave them this until the end of their life, basically, until they died.
Don't stop. Well, but that makes sense, right? I mean, if we know taurine is decreasing as we age, you can't just take it for a month and think, okay, I'm good for the next 5 years. No, you're going to drop it off again.
Right. So they started the supplementation in mice, middle-aged mice. And then they had another group, the elderly mice, and then they supplemented until the end of life. In both of those groups.
I'm going to make sure I got that. So 3 grams probably for most people, but if you're over 165, maybe it's a little bit higher. I mean, obviously, it's done in increments, right?
Yes.
But you can't really detail it because we've never done dosing studies for these longevity parameters. Right? So we're giving you a good ballpark figure. So let's get right into what they found.
Right. So in the middle-aged mice, well, when supplementation started around mid-age in the mice, so that's I guess they're about 1 year or so.
Oh.
1 year.
1 year. But they're actually like 50.
Exactly. So increased median lifespan of 10 to 12%. And then in the elderly mice, and I think that's important, means that it's not too late to consider taurine supplementation in the elderly mice.
Never too late.
Increased life expectancy 18 to 25%. It also, the results, there was improved systemic functioning.
That's the health span.
That's the health span.
Yeah, very good. Okay. And that systemic functioning is probably looking at a bunch of different parameters. We don't need to go in that kind of detail, but you're talking maybe about sugar levels, maybe about blood flow, whatever. There's ways of measuring that and putting it all together kind of like in a health span score.
Right, absolutely. And, so you're right. It supported healthy mitochondrial function as an example.
Right, exactly, yeah. And so these mice, and an interesting thing about mice, these little white lab mice that you see and stuff, genetically speaking, they're pretty close to us.
I know.
It's weird, I know.
It is.
They actually are a really good model. They're better than like the worms and fruit flies.
Oh, yes.
Although that began a lot of the longevity. That's true. But finding some results like this in something that, believe it or not, is kind of close to us genetically is really good. So let me 10 to 12% in lifespan, right? Median lifespan. Increased life expectancy 18 to 25% in the elderly group. And that's good. That's pretty good.
I think
you
so.
just said it. It's never too late.
The results were better.
Yeah.
If you kind of look at it in that way in the elderly group.
Yeah. Now, don't wait. If you're interested in this, and this sounds great to you, taurine is good. It has a lot of, even if this doesn't pan out, we do have good research that it's good for all those other things.
That's a good point, Dr. Mike. And that was when I read this, I said, okay, this is great, but it's nothing, it's new as it relates to longevity. But we've always known taurine has been an outstanding nutrient, something you want to supplement with.
Yeah, it's really not a trend for us. It's trending now in the headlines and stuff. I think it was written up in Science, and then I think the New York Times picked it up, and who knows where it's at now.
All the major news outlets.
But you're right. We watch stuff like that coming, from our sponsor, Life Extension, and we're like, duh. Like, it's about time, you guys.
I know.
Here's 18 articles we've written over the past 10 years.
Right, and so for me, it was just a reminder. Hey, you know what? You better add in, this is another one you should add in. I did take it when I was vegan. I would like to say that.
Well, I think that's important because you're not getting any from anything else.
Right.
Right. So editors, you want me just to read that summary? I think that's kind of cool because this helps, I think, to understand the health span. You already mentioned one, the mitochondria. So this is a quote. Supplementation with taurine slowed key markers of aging such as increased DNA damage, telomerase deficiency, and we can get into that if we want, impaired mitochondrial function, and cellular senescence.
Yeah.
Now, that's all. Telomerase deficiency is all about telomere length, and that's a big thing in the longevity world. Cellular senescence, that happens naturally, but we got to clear those cells, right? And we don't clear them very well, but it also looks like taurine was maybe able to delay a cell going into this senescent state, which is kind of like the end of the line for that cell.
That's right.
I think it's pretty good.
I think so too, Dr. Mike. I love that. It's anything that can bring more visibility to this sulfur amino acid. I'm all for it.
Sulfur amino acid. So let's summarize with how we're gonna take this. Like what would be our? We know we went over the dosing a little bit, but is this with food, without food? Let's go through that again.
Yes. Empty stomach. Your body needs around 3,000 milligrams daily to function properly. So again, supplementation might just be necessary. There are questions that we get as well. How much is too much? Can I just go for it?
There's a right amount for things.
Yes, well, studies show that 2 to 4 grams divided into 2 or 3 daily doses is safe without side effects.
Yeah. Let's be clear. More is not always good.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, more can be inhibiting sometimes.
You do find that.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's the case
not
with taurine.
Sure, but just stick with it. But stick with that dose. So I like the fact that empty stomach makes it a lot easier. Like right when you get up, you can like take one dose.
Yes.
Something like that. So we have a nice the lifeextension.com/taurine.
Yes, and that our sponsor, Life Extension, carries taurine, 1,000 milligrams, 90 capsules. It's pretty inexpensive too. We didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Like when you look at the cost,
it's cheap.
It's pretty cheap, and so that is available at lifeextension.com/taurine.
Right. And by the way, our sponsor, Life Extension, if you go there, they're offering 10% off. And your whole order.
Even better.
Even better. Lifeextension.com/taurine. And just got to put the discount code podcast. Dr. Crystal, fascinating information.
I think so.
Yeah. I think it should. I mean, I think it, I get a little weird talking about trends, right? Because not everything's a true trend and should be a trend. This is pretty good. More and more people should learn about this.
Yes.
Yeah. That's lifeextension.com/taurine. Put in the word podcast for a 10% discount. But don't forget liveforeverish.com. Right?
True. That's where you're going to listen to podcasts.
Yeah, over 400 now. I think we're at 403. I'm not sure what the actual number is. It's something like that. But listen, when you're there, download, like, and share, and comment. We love to hear from you. And subscribe so you never miss a show. It's the 1-2 punch at liveforeverish.com. Give your email to join the Life Extension newsletter. and then go ahead and subscribe right there to your favorite podcast listening place
Platform.
platform. There you go. liveforeverish.com. I'm Dr. Mike. Thanks for listening.